Okay. So basically, well, welcome, first of all. Welcome to mobile apps. Obviously, this is going to be a little different this year because it is 100% online. That being said, we still are going to try to do some group work. So one of the things that I'm going to show you, or that you're going to have to do, is somehow collaborate with a partner. And we're not going to go through that today. We're going to go through the setup today, but we are going to try to do a bit of pair programming. And so that means both people working on something at the same time. So the first thing we need to do is get set up, though, and I think everybody in the call right now has already been to the website to get on the textbook and also into Discord. So one of the things that we will do in Discord is that'll kind of be the main way to ask for help, because that way we can all help each other, and it won't just be you emailing me. Like, if you're in the middle of working on something and you don't know how to do something, you send an email and then you don't know if I'm going to answer in 5 minutes or 5 days or whatever. Like, email is just not very good for synchronous communication. So I found that Discord works really well because a lot of people have it, and you can actually do video on it if you wanted to, and you can do chat. And so there will actually be a percentage of your grade that is participating in Discord. It's like 10% or something like that. And all you have to do is participate once a week. So that could be asking a question. That could be answering a question. That could be posting a picture of a cat in the cat channel. I'm not really going to force you to participate as like multiple times a day or anything, but I do want you to go into Discord and ask for help or help other people, because that I have found works really well. So let me actually just show you. So this is Discord. You can see in the main channel the general help. You can see everybody that's joined so far. And on the right-hand side, you can see all the people that are offline. So they're not currently, and then 2 people and myself are currently online. So there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can say, I need help with one, blah, 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 blah. And everybody can see that, or I can send a private message to Ryan saying, hey, Ryan, let's work on our project. Right? So that's kind of how Discord works. Like I said, you can also have voice and video in this over here if you want to use it. You guys can talk to each other. So that's pretty useful as well. All right, so that's pretty much Discord. There's the general help, there's off topic if you want to talk about stuff that is not related to the course. And then, of course, there's the cat channel, which every good server should have. So, all right. So, like I said, most people have signed up. Let me get into D2L quick. Here are the announcements. You guys hopefully are familiar with D2L. The assignments are going to be in the assignments area. Oh, somebody just joined. Excellent. All right. So here are the only 2 assignments we have so far: register for the textbook and join the cloud Discord chat room. So we're going to go to the textbook now. So you can use, you can use this link. You can bookmark this link and just go to it whenever you want. So if I go to the course, Obviously, I have the teacher view, which you don't have. So I'm going to actually share with you. I added myself as a student. This just kind of shows you what I look at. I can see where you're at in the course. But if you log in to the website as a student, you will get a screen like this. So this is, when you go to the site, it looks like this. In the upper right-hand side, you log in. And you have all the assignments here. So if you go to the main course page, you'll see that actually all of the assignments here are already listed. We are not going to do every single assignment because this is both a college course and a high school AP course. While RCTC and SMSU and a bunch of other colleges use this as a college course, it is literally also the same course that I teach for college credit in the high school. And so some of these things are specifically for the AP exam. So it's okay to work ahead a bit. But again, like I said, we're going to do a bunch of group work. So don't work ahead, like don't sit down over the next 2 weeks and try to get through the whole thing because you're going to have to redo some of it with a partner anyway. But you can definitely go and look through it. You're welcome to do that. So if you would like to click on the Unit 1, this is what we're going to go through this week. So it's basically the introduction of how to use this website, how to use App Inventor, and how to submit assignments. So go ahead and you can watch the videos. There's a little introduction here in 1.2 on what is an algorithm. And every assignment is going to have little summaries, and usually they will have little comprehension checks at the end of them, which we'll see in a little bit. In order to submit some of the assignments, you're going to have what they call a portfolio. And there's two different ways you can do this. You can either have Google Docs or you can have a Google site. So this goes through the explanation of what each of those are, but basically, let me give you an example. At the end of the assignments where you have to build something, there are, like I said, self-check problems, but then there's also reflection for your portfolio. And so these are a little bit longer answers. There's usually only like, 3 or 4 of them. It's not a huge deal. And also when you make your own app, you're going to need to somehow submit that app. And the way you're going to do that is either with a Google Doc, right? And there is a a sample empty Google Doc that you can just say file, make a copy, and put your name in it and save it to your Google Drive and share it with me. So I'll have a little video on how to do that for those of you that aren't familiar with Google Docs, but you can either just do it in a Google Doc, save it to your Drive and share it with me, or the other way you can have a portfolio is using something called Google Sites. And so that creates a website for you in your Google account. And it is already pre-filled with a whole bunch of stuff that we're going to use throughout the course. So I'm just going to go ahead so this is the template that you would click on. So when you go through this lesson, it'll say if you want to use a template, you can see right here in the upper right-hand corner, there's a button that says use template. So I'm going to go ahead and click it, right? So I'm going to create a new one, and it's going to be Mr. B Mobile Apps Fall 2020, right? And it'll create a URL for you, right? So it's creating the site. In theory. I'm going to let it go ahead and, oh, wait. I'm going to go ahead and let it create that. So in lesson 1.3, it goes through these two options. It says, you know, you can either use Google Drive or you can use Google Sites. So this is what we just did, or what I just did rather. You use this template to create a mobile site, and it ends up looking like this. So you can edit all of this. There's a little edit button, right? So instead of saying mobile CSP student home, I'm going to say Mr. B's awesome mobile apps website of awesomeness, right? And then I save it. And there you go. I've changed that. So all through here on the left-hand side, right, there are example or templates for all the things that you're going to need to do in this course. All right, so just like that Google Doc that I showed you before, here's the Google Doc already in the site. So you can use this as your template, and then it's all in one place. It makes it kind of easy. And then all you have to do is share with me the site once, and I will know where all your work is. If you use just Google Docs, then you're going to have to share each Google Doc with me, which is fine. Like I said, you can do it either way you want. I'm not bothered by either one. I'll grade them the same, whether they're individual Google Docs or you make a Google site. So the next thing that I haven't had you do yet, but I'd like you to do is go to MIT's App Inventor and just make sure that you can log in. So basically right at the top here, MIT's App Inventor, you can just Google it, probably easiest to say App Inventor, or use your favorite search engine if it's not Google. And click on the Create Apps button. So again, I would bookmark that page, and it will ask you which account. Again, so just like Mobile CSP, where I asked you to create a Google account so you could log in, App Inventor uses a Google email or a Google account, again, to log you in. So this is what it will look like. And this is a basic project. You can see I have a Hello World project, which is what you're going to build as well. Somebody is trying to join. Where is my meeting room? All right, let's go back to it. So if you can get to, if you just Google App Inventor, or if you actually go to ai2.appinventor.mit.edu, either way, you'll end up with a screen, something like this. If you click the link in the assignment here, the App Inventor Template Welcome app, it will create this project for you, this kind of empty project. So this is going to be where we spend 90% of our time, is in the App Inventor app. We will have the option to do some native device coding, but we are going to spend a lot of time building apps in App Inventor. I want to say that you can use it. You can download all your apps onto Android devices, and you can use an iOS device as well. I have an iOS device. Usually I have extra Android devices, but obviously we're not in person, so I can't hand those out. But I use, if you have a Apple device, you're going to need to have something called Test Flight. And then with Test Flight, you'll be able to run the App Inventor thing called App Inventor AI Companion. So again, I'll make a little video about that and post it. I don't want to get too much into it right now. But you can always, no matter what, you can always say run or connect to the emulator. So even if you never put your apps on a device, you can still use the App Inventor. Okay, so AI Starter, not working. So I might need to download AI Starter again, but I don't want to waste your time by doing that because all the instructions are in here and I would rather help people one-on-one. So you can always use the emulator for all of your submissions. You do not have to put your stuff on a device if you don't want to, or if you are having trouble with it. But again, I'm happy to help you debug that and get it going. Just as a quick introduction, it's pretty straightforward to use these. You can just drag things onto your screen, and then what we're going to do is go into the blocks section, and most of it is drag and drop programming. So I'm sure some of you are thinking that that sounds really simple. Some of you are thinking that sounds really complex. Believe me, it will. Everybody is going to be challenged, whether you're familiar with block programming, whether you're a Java expert. You will have the opportunity to challenge yourself. So again, for this week, basically what I want us to get through is this Unit 1. There are a few things that you're gonna need to do, like get App Inventor set up that I can help you with individually, and get that Hello World. We are gonna read a little bit of this Blown to Bits book. It's a little bit about how data and computer science is having an effect on the world. And then the last part for this week is just about successful learning in mobile CSP, why we're doing pair programming, what it means to challenge yourself and be a successful learner. Let me quickly bring up the syllabus, because there's a couple things that I would like to mention. Share my screen again. All right, so this is obviously the syllabus. So I will be online. I'm guaranteed-ish to be online Tuesday and Thursday from 10 to 11:20 to help. Sometimes I will have optional Zoom meetings like this one if there's things that I really want to make sure that I explain to everybody. If if you're having trouble with your group work, if you'd like me to set up Zoom meetings for you and your partner, or Google Meets or whatever, then I'm happy to do that. I am almost always on Discord because I use this for all my classes. So if you have a quick question, again, I would post to the general chat first, because often, very often, one of your classmates will have an answer for you and will post it quicker than I can do it. And again, you will get credit for participation in Discord. If these times don't work for you, then I'm happy to set up another time to meet. If you just send me a message and say, the only time I can meet is 3 o'clock on Friday, then I will make that work for you. I will post some videos, like I said, mostly how to get started, how to get set up. And then if there's anything confusing, if there's something that you find confusing, you'd like a video for, I'm happy to, make a video about it. Blah, 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 blah. The class is obviously 100% online. So we are going to have a couple required meetings, and I will make sure as much as possible that everybody can make them, because part of the class is demonstrating a product, right? So for the midterm and the final, we will have a meeting just like this one, where you will demonstrate how your project works, you and your partner. I will do almost everything through D2L in terms of announcements and assignments. I will try to also post things in Discord, but D2L is the official record of the assignments and also of your grade, right? So the grades, Discord, like I said, that's how we're going to participate since we don't have in-person classes. Where most of your grade is going to be projects. There will probably be a few quizzes. There'll be a midterm and a final. And then the grades are the same as for every other class at RCTC. Again, you get participation points for asking questions and for answering. As long as you participate once per week, you'll get 100%. There are external supports to this class available. So if you're having trouble, I can hook you up, or RCTC can hook you up. Obviously, it's really, really easy to cheat at computer science. If you just copy someone else's code at this level, like if it looks identical, then I'm going to be really suspicious, right? I'm going to be like, this doesn't look like one of you didn't come up with this, right? So I hate dealing with people that copy code, because it's bad for you, it's bad for the rest of the class, it's bad for the institution. So the one thing I will say about this is I am hoping that it is more important to you that you learn and that you learn to ask for help than it is to get a slightly higher grade. I will always give you more time if you ask for it in advance. I will, if you're saying, you know what, I have 5 finals tomorrow, I just want a couple extra days to finish this project, 99.9% of the time, I will say, yes, you can have more time to finish this project. Coming to me afterwards and saying, oh, I forgot, I was going on a road trip and, like that's harder to give an extension for, right? But if you come to me in advance and say, I don't understand this project, I need some more help, or I have lots going on, I need a little more time, right? I am concerned with how much you learn, much more than whether you finish a prescribed checklist by a prescribed date. To me, that is not learning, that is compliance. I am interested in learning more than compliance. Yes, there are going to be some hard deadlines. I cannot change your grade a month after the course ends, right? So you can't have an extra month to do the final project. But if you ask in advance, if you have stuff going on, 99.9% of the time, I will give you extra time. And then obviously I have to mention the COVID-19 preparedness plan. We're not going to meet in person, so this kind of is moot for this course, but I'm supposed to mention it. And obviously in the syllabus, you can click on this link and see what the latest information is for campus. So I think that is about it as far as the information that I wanted to share with you. Like I said, we will probably have some more optional Zoom meetings and a couple mandatory ones, and I will try to make them fit your schedule as much as possible. But other than that, does anyone have any questions right off the bat? No questions. Excellent. All right. Well, then I am going to stop recording.